I like how we get right to it with our open.
That's how we are.
Just a second long.
That's how we are.
It's time to talk
we
hockey.
Don't fool around.
Happy holidays. December is here, Barry Melrose. I'm John Buccigross. And how is the shopping going early on?
I'm just about done. I don't buy a lot of stuff.
Do we know what Cindy's going to get? Is Cindy's gifts taken care of?
No, that'll be last minute. I usually do that the 24th, night of the 24th.
All right, his lovely wife. Let's bring in Scott Burnside with our top story. Scotty, Martin Brodeur will have a new uniform as he signs with the St. Louis Blues. Did you ever see this coming? Let's say, just say this time last year.
I'm not sure exactly, but I tell you, it is jarring to see the pictures that came out. Well, even over the last few days, to see him in a St. Louis Blues sweatshirt and wearing a ball cap, but to see his actual Blues jersey, having signed the contract on this very day, and the expectation is he's going to play within the next 3 or 4 days for the St. Louis Blues for the first time, other than a team bearing the New Jersey Devils logo. It is a bit jarring, but I got to tell you, I'm pretty jazzed about this. I think there's something kind of magical about what Martin Brodeur is trying to do. I mean, he's the greatest goaltender of all time. He doesn't feel he's quite done yet. We're going to find out whether he is or not. And who knows how long it lasts with St. Louis. Who knows how it goes. I kind of hope there's still some magic left in that tank. And we see something that reminds us that, yes, Marty Brodeur is, in fact, the greatest goaltender of all time. And we know it's not going to last probably a long time with St. Louis because Brian Elliott is going to come back at some time. And Jake Allen is the man right now, the future of goaltending for the Blues. But I think this is a good spot for Martin Brodeur. And who knows whether it opens up a door somewhere else around the NHL, depending on what happens. So I can't wait for it to unfold.
42 years old, Barry, and he couldn't have picked a better team. This is a defensive-minded team, great defenseman in front of him, so he's used to the style. And the best chance to succeed is with the Blues for him. They're a good team.
And he's not going to see a lot of shots, so that's very similar to the team he played with in New Jersey, a defensive-first team. And, this guy, as Scott mentioned, is arguably the greatest goaltender that's ever played. The interesting thing is St. Louis, the history of the Blues, they've had old goaltenders before. If you remember when they first came in the NHL, had Jacques Plante was close to 40, if not over. Glenn Hall was on the team, close to 40, if not over. Ernie Wakely was there. He was close to 40 when he played for the Blues. So they have a history of older goaltenders. It's going to be very interesting. He hasn't played in 7 months. He's coming into an NHL that's very competitive right now. We've got a lot of teams bunched up within 3 points for first overall. St. Louis is one of them. But he's going to go to a team that doesn't allow many shots. He's going to go to a team that scores a lot of goals. That's what will help Marty. He doesn't have to win games 2-1 anymore like he did with the New Jersey Devils. The question will be conditioning. How is he going to be that way? And again, a tough Western Conference. You're going to be playing against more good teams in the West than the East. And the travel. He's always been an Eastern Division, Eastern Conference guy. Travel is nothing in the Eastern Conference. In the West, it'll be much tougher, much longer trips, things like that. So it's going to be interesting how he holds up there. But if you could have picked a place, if you're a Marty Brodeur fan, which we all are, and I'm with Scott, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It'll be magical this time of year seeing Marty play the first game in a jersey other than the New Jersey Devils. I hope he plays well. I don't want to see him stumble and people remember Marty as a guy that was not a great goaltender anymore. But, he deserves it. He wants to do it. It's something we'll all enjoy as hockey guys, but it's going to be a very, very tough road for Marty Brodeur.
All right. Daniel Alfredsson is hanging them up, Scotty. He will not be making any type of comeback for any other teams. Daniel Alfredsson, I think he's a no-brainer Hall of Famer. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's quite as cut and dried as no-brainer, but I have him in my Hall of Fame, and my Hall of Fame is, of course, what matters more than anything.
True.
For me, it's about you can't just look at the points. Although his point total is impressive, over 1,000. Not quite a point-a-game guy, but not too far off that. For me, it's the impact he had on the Ottawa Senators. It's the face of that franchise. He made them a contender. He made them helped transition from an absolute laughingstock in the NHL to be a team that every year looked like they were going to contend for the Stanley Cup. Unfortunately, they kept running into the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs, but that's another story. And again, for me, we look at the international complexion of the Hall of Fame. We just saw a class go in, players from all around the globe, Mike Modano, Rob Blake, Peter Forsberg, Dominik Hasek. Daniel Alfredsson played in 5 Olympic Games. It was just staggering to think about. 5 Olympic tournaments. For me, that's enough to get him in the door to the Hall of Fame. A true gentleman, a guy who represented the game, not just the NHL, but the game itself so proudly for so many years. Yeah, he's got a place in my Hall of Fame for sure.
He could skate, could really shoot the one-timer at the point. So much fun to watch him shoot a slap shot, Barry Melrose. Obviously a leader with great character, otherwise you wouldn't be a C. A gold medal for Sweden. It's the Hockey Hall of Fame, not the NHL Hall of Fame. He played in the dead puck era, except for the first 2 years out of our most recent lockout. Played in the dead puck era. So his numbers, you have to think about that when he goes against a guy in the 70s and 80s.
I think here's another chance for you to make some money for your website. No-brainer Hall of Famer. He should have that. You should get.
I love it. Hey, if you're either in it or not.
50,000 of them printed up. To me, this is a no-brainer. And Scott started out being a no-brainer, but he sort of talked himself into being a no-brainer.
Right. We brought him down.
And it is in numbers. The Hall of Fame is about numbers. He's got 444 goals. He's got over 700 assists. He's got over 1,100 points. He won the Calder Trophy when he came into the NHL. The guy has played in the Stanley Cup. He didn't win the Stanley Cup, but he's played for the Stanley Cup with Ottawa. He's been a tremendous leader for the NHL and for the Swedish Hockey Federation. So as far as I'm concerned, when I look at other guys in the NHL, this guy might be too good to get to the Hall of Fame. His numbers might be too good when I compare him with other guys that are in the Hall of Fame. So to me, Daniel Alfredsson is what hockey's all about, and to me, he's a no-brainer. Hall of Famer. Get the T-shirts printed up.
He's got 2 S's in his name, which I'm a big fan of too.
I'm more so. I like the lesser amount of characters.
The better.
Yeah,
that's good. You're a simple man.
I am a simple man.
Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning, Scott Burnside. They could have. I thought about this last night while I was putting on my makeup. They could have the Coach of the Year, the MVP, the Vezina winner. The Maurice Rocket Richard most goal winner. This could be a banner year and it's possible they could be raising the cup at year end. Talk about the Bolts, the #1 point percentage team right now.
Yeah, what about Norris Trophy with Victor Hedman back in?
I'm not sure
he is a stud. I'm not sure he's quite ready for this yet, but if he stays healthy, he could well be in the discussion as we get into March and early April when it comes to award season time. I'm with you. You know, in the offseason, we looked at the changes that Steve Yzerman, the GM, had made. Anton Strawman coming in, Brian Boyle coming in, both from New York, both who had strong playoffs for the Rangers as they went to the finals. Of course, Ryan Callahan coming at the trade deadline and then locked up long term. Look at the chemistry he's having with Steven Stamkos. It's a very, very good team. Now, I will say this, and I'm a glass half full kind of guy, but you know how many NHL playoff games Ben Bishop has played, right? He's played exactly 0. He's played exactly 1 playoff game of note since he was a teenager, since they had stats on NHL.com or on ESPN.com. 1 playoff appearance. That was a loss in the AHL. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying that when we talk about playing the Montreal Canadiens, the Boston Bruins, the Pittsburgh Penguins, in order to get through out of the Atlantic Division and through the Eastern Conference, you're going to have to play some really good teams, and Ben Bishop has not been there yet. And that would be the only question I have. But other than that, this is a team that looks like it's built not just to stay atop the Atlantic Division, but they do look like they're built for the long haul next spring. So we'll see if they can stay healthy, and we'll see how many of those pieces of hardware you mentioned they actually come up with in June.
Remember the pre-HD NHL Tonight days, we interviewed Yzerman when he was a player. And we asked him if he'd want to be GM, and you could tell he did. He's the kind of guy who goes to Denny's in the placemat and writes out a team, the Olympic team.
Scott, I don't think he goes to Denny's much anymore.
That's a good point. He is all in, and I'm really impressed. He may be go down as the greatest player-GM combo ever when it's all said and done. He understands how to construct a team, and he's constructed a really deep team.
Well, first off, I've been out with Scotty. His glass is never half full. Let's get that straight right now before we go any farther in today's show.
He's chugging.
Ben Bishop, to me, is the best goaltender in the Eastern Conference. If Pekka Rinne wasn't so good right now, he might be the best goaltender in the NHL, as far as I'm concerned. The addition of Garrison on defense, you mentioned Strawman. Garrison's been a great addition. They've got a great power play. They scored a couple power play goals a game against the New York Rangers. Their defense is big, mobile. Hedman's back now. He was the best defenseman in the NHL at the start of the season until he got hurt. They've got secondary scoring. They don't need Stamkos to score every night. We saw that last night against the New York Rangers. They shut down Stamkos' line pretty good, him and Callahan, but all of a sudden Johnson scores. They've got other guys putting the puck in net. Killorn can score. Palat can score. This is a good hockey team. They're deep. They're all good defensively, too. They don't give up much. Boyle was a great addition, helped their penalty killing, helped their draws. Very well thought out team. And again, you mentioned Steve Yzerman. Why is he a good GM? Worked with Kenny Holland for a number of years. You sit up there and listen to Kenny and talk to Kenny. Jimmy Nill did it for a number of years. Now he's running Dallas. Stevie Yzerman did it for a number of years. Now he's running the Tampa Bay Lightning. Just a fantastic job. But this team is for real. Are they the best team in the NHL? It's still hard for me to pick an Eastern team over the teams in the West. Until I see it in a playoff round in April or in June, I'm still going to be the West is best as far as I'm concerned. But right now, as far as I'm can see out there in the games that I watch, this is the best team in the Eastern Conference. Montreal's good. Montreal's got some holes. The Rangers are okay, but Lundqvist is having a very average year. His save percentage is only around 9. You're not going to win the East with a save percentage around 9. Pittsburgh's good, certainly, but again, you get back to goaltending. You mentioned Bishop. You're worried about Bishop in the playoffs. Bishop is an unknown going into the playoffs. We know Marc-Andre Fleury. We know what he's done in the playoffs the last few years. So I'd much rather be going in with Ben Bishop as my goaltender than Marc-Andre Fleury as my goaltender.
And Victor Hedman, Scotty hit it. He might be the best all-around defenseman in the East right now. Look at his numbers.
Second pick overall. And you forget.
3 assists, plus 3 last night.
Tampa's had a lot of high picks. Stevie Yzerman is a beneficiary of a lot of bad teams. And Stamkos was 1 overall. Hedman was 2 overall. Drouin was 3 overall. So they've had a lot of high picks. But again, the secondary guys they picked up, like Johnson and like Killorn and Palat, those guys were great additions. And now they have a well-rounded team that's good in all areas, just like Detroit Red Wings were for years.
Yeah, the buyout of LeCavier, identifying Matt Carl in free agency.
And hey, the trade of St. Louis, it looked like that could have blew up in his face.
#1 draft picks, the guy they needed.
And now Callahan is the guy. He's going to score 30 goals this year playing with Stamkos, a guy that we know what he does. You know, that turned out to be a pretty good deal for Tampa Bay.
Lightning fans cannot complain. We don't talk about that. That was a lengthy segment.
Thank you very much.
So let's get to the game of the week.
I tried to draw it out.
Scotty Burnside, as you look at your schedule on your refrigerator, what game are you looking forward to this week?
Well, I'll give a nod to my good pal Pierre LeBrun, who before this season started predicted a Chicago Blackhawks Montreal Canadiens Stanley Cup final, harkening back to 1971. Tony Esposito, Ken Dryden. I'm not sure it's going to happen that way, but on Friday evening, the Montreal Canadiens will in fact go to Chicago. Blackhawks are really starting to hum now. Patrick Kane is in a groove. This is a team that is just coming off a very long road trip, an annual circus road trip. Well, the circus invades the United Center, so the Blackhawks played very well on the road, only lost 1 game. They are really starting to cook now. And the Montreal Canadiens, you mentioned them, the logjam atop the overall league standings. You know, this Canadiens team, a little bit of a wobble, a couple losses to Buffalo last week, which always mar up your schedule a little bit. But very good team that Marc Bergevin has put together in Montreal. And Carey Price is going to be in the Vezina Trophy discussion as long as he stays healthy. I think this is going to be a terrific game. I'm not sure Pierre's got it right in terms of the Stanley Cup final next June, but always a treat when 2 original 6 teams that are playing as well as these 2 teams are get a chance to clash. Should be a dynamite tilt.
How about you, Barry? What's your game of the week?
Good choices, but to me the game of the week is St. Louis against Nashville. First off, Martin Brodeur might play in that game. Yeah, that would be unbelievable if he plays in that game. And the second thing is Nashville is a good hockey team. Pekka Rinne, arguably the best goaltender in the NHL right now. Nashville might have the best defense led by Shea Weber, Yossi, you've got Seth Jones. That's a good defense, a big mobile defense, and I like that team a lot. And up front, they can score. This Philip Forsberg kid is awesome. You've got the real deal. James Neal's putting the puck in the net. Ribeiro's been a great addition. You can like Ribeiro or not like Ribeiro. This guy's a talented forward, and he really looks like he's having fun playing with Nashville. So now Pekka Rinne doesn't have to win the games 1-0 like he used to under Barry Trotz. They're scoring him 3-4 goals a game. That really takes a lot of heat off him. So I like Nashville a lot. They're not going to fall by the wayside. They're for real, and this will be a great look. Number one, if Brodeur plays, it'll be a really good way to judge him. And number 2, St. Louis is one of the best teams in the West against Nashville, one of the best teams in the West. It's always good to have a measuring stick to see which team is a little bit ahead of the other team.
And you didn't even say the word Tarasenko.
I didn't even say
I think he's the star in the league right now.
I think
he has the most buzz around.
Buzz. He's the story of the NHL. And then that line is the story. That's not even St. Louis, Backus, and Oshie. Those guys aren't even important anymore. As long as this line, Tarasenko's line, scores, St. Louis has a chance of winning.
His release is just off the charts good. That was fun talking hockey.
Yes, it was. Always.
I am ecstatic. Thanks for clicking on ESPN.com. We're here all year long until they
Are we doing the top 3 goals?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Let's do top 3 goals, Barry.
Writing,
I was so excited.
Directing.
Man, you do it all.
Checking
all right.
The mic's work.
Thanks, Scott Burnside. Barry, the mayor of Dangle City, Patrick Kane, has arrived again.
And again, Scotty mentioned about the circus trip. Versteeg's starting to heat up now. He's playing with Kane. He's got to be happy about that.
Yes.
Beautiful backhand pass. No one's even near Patrick Kane. Wouldn't you know where 88 is on the ice right there? One of the great goal scorers in our game. So big goal right there for the Hawks.
Hard to make Ryan Suter look a little bad, but Alex Hemsky, oh my. Looks like he's doing a cone drill there.
I'm not sure, but that might have been the first goal of the year, Johnny. So it's not like Alex Hemsky's lighting it up for Dallas Stars. He's one of the reasons Dallas is struggling in the NHL right now. They're expecting a lot more offensive weapons out of him, one of the most talented guys in the NHL.
You waited for the crossover, right? Wait for the crossover, kids.
Don't give him the crossover.
Attacking the D-man.
Don't give him the crossover.
Ennis, are you kidding me?
This is pretty spectacular. He's playing great for Buffalo. Teddy Nolan's doing a great job for the Sabres. Individual effort, beat the defenseman, throw it through his legs, and never quit on the play. Carey Price is a little lazy. Great goal by Ennis.
They're not going to finish last. They still might get the first pick. They're not going to finish last unless they start trading better.
Trade the veteran.
Those young players are getting good.
Be bad for one more year, Teddy. Be bad for one more year. Do good. Keep your job, and have one of those guys.
They're last in the league.
Well, they're getting some guys back, but then they lost. Anisim off for 2 months.
And that's who's out for.
They've had a ton of injuries, Columbus.
They may go into tanky mode also.
Okay, but then get the first pick. Yeah, get McDavid or Eichel.
Why not? Go get him next year.
I'll get the defenseman too. He's pretty good.
He's real good. Noah up there in Boston College. Noah Hannafin.
Hopefully we'll see one
the
of those
All-Star
Boston
games
teams in Frozen Four. Yes. We'll throw them a bone. They'll have the All-Star game.
I could talk all day. They probably say, well, when are they going to
Everybody knows you can talk all day, John.
That's how you get us to go.
That's what directors do. That's what a director does.
The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
The director starts the music.
We're all done.
The hook is next.
See you
if the
next
music
week.
doesn't work, the hook is next.
Give them the